I know. Twice in a day. Crazy, isn't it? Hello, everybody. I'm back for another recording, video, stream. Call it what you want. Been a little bit of history. And I'm going to go for something that's definitely off piste, was off piste then, is arguably off piste now. And the deck I'm going to look at, I've dug out from the archives. It's got a great name. Um, and it's by, I've just got half of the window just here so I can remember all the content and everything. It's by a guy who used to post under the name of Outlaw, a guy called Doug Harvillia, who was an American player, played a lot of Clan, played a lot of Wolf, and some Ghost Bear as well, if I remember rightly. Creator of arguably the Jump Wolf deck and arguably the Fog Wolf deck as well. I'm going to look at one of his other different creations. Oh, we've got the Hot Wolf deck as well. That's three for me to do for those of you that like Wolf. Um, but this one is a bit different. I'm using it as a bit of a precursor. And it's actually, or he called it his Smash Hawk deck. And it abuses the wonderful Omni-Mech Pod cache. So let's just have a look at what this card does. There are a few other decks that abuse it, and I'm going to talk about one or two of those later in a few more casts in time. So we'll have a look at this now. Omni-Mech Pod cache, 3 cost basic, 3 assembly, 3 logistics. And it's a command card. It sits there with 3 armor, 3 structure, and it has 1 damage to it. And the text of the card says, tap the card, scrap an Omni-Mech you control, and search your stockpile for a configuration of that mech. For example, you may scrap Puma A and search for Puma Prime A, B, or C. This is the Commander's Edition version, which is the only card I know that actually has for example written into it, which shows how not complicated it is, but how easy people could get this wrong or misunderstand it. Okay, so you can take one variant of a mech, tap this and scrap it, and get a different variant of a mech, which is quite nice. For each point by which the base construction cost, let's forget buyouts, assets, whatever, the base construction cost of the new mech exceeds the old one, pay a resource or scrap 1 card from your stockpile. Okay, put the new mech into your patrol region, activated. Shuffle your stockpile afterwards. Use this ability during your deploy phase. Okay, so a couple of important things here. One, you get a huge boost if you pick the right combination, and you either pay for that combination or the differences. So it's effectively a draw card, or you scrap them from your scrap heap on a 1-for-1 basis. Not too bad. But it goes into your patrol region. So effectively, it dashes because you're using this in your deploy phase. It's in your patrol region. You go and do all your deploys, activate all your resources, do your repairs, and all that kind of jazz. And then it goes to your mission phase. And that unit, that mech that you have put out there, is already in the patrol region. So it's effectively dash mech equivalent. Okay, so this deck abuses this particular card. And what are our options, I hear you say, or why am I going to use this? Well, if we have a look at the options, and I've literally sorted here on Omni keywords, note that there are a few Innisphere Omnis, not many, but there are a few. And I've dropped Clan in there just to get rid of those few Innispheres. And the prime targets for this is our wonderfully ineffective Black Hawk D, a 170 missile boat with jump, which can't even use the jump because it can't do -1 attack. Bit of a design flaw there. I mean, personally, I think they should just have converted one of the missiles into a damage. I mean, it's not just a straightforward missile boat, it's got an AC5 on it. So why not give it a 171 so it can at least jump, and give it missile 1? But that's all in the past. We can't change that. It's got a 3A buyout on it, which is fair enough. And that means that at 2 cost, you can get it out really early and maintain your tempo. So the idea would be to go first, somewhere along the line, drop an assembly, probably drop a logistics, because the next turn after this, you're going to want Omni Mech Pod Cache. So you go assembly, then you go logistics, Black Hawk D, tap both, out it comes, and then the following turn, you drop another resource, play your Omni Mech Pod Cache, and you turn your Black Hawk D into, and you've got a couple of options here, the Prime. And I would heartily advise not to choose the Prime. The Black Hawk Prime at 13 means we're scrapping 11 cards from our scrap heap, which is an awful lot. It does do 7 damage, and we can overheat that for another 6 by doing 4 to ourselves. So we could get 13 damage out of this. So I'm paying 11 damage, and if I can attack straight away and get straight through, I've done 13. I'm 2 cards ahead. Okay. The only problem with that is that it overheats 4 and it practically half kills itself. And then the next turn, it's probably going to do the same thing, or it's too easy to pick off. However, with Arsenal, was it Arsenal? I'm not sure if it's Arsenal. It's not Arsenal. Yeah, it was Arsenal. You have the Black Hawk S, which is an A and T. Not bad, because that works with our D, which is straight A's if we've got to pay for it. It's a 178. It's not bad. You know, we're actually doing 1 more damage to our basic Black Hawk Prime. It has jump, which is useful, as we'll see in a minute. It's got anti-missile and it's got AP. It's got armor piercing on it, or anti-personnel. Call it anti-personnel. Call it what you want. So it actually does 9 to the scrap. And we would scrap 7 cards in order to do 9 damage. So again, we're at +2 if we can take that attack through to the other guy's stockpile. The thing with this is that it doesn't actually overheat, and therefore it doesn't half kill itself. And, well, to be fair, they both have jump. Okay. And the advantage of the jump is that you can then play a mission. And for example, if that mission happened to be something like unopposed, which will then double the 8 base damage to 16 and add another anti-personnel, you can actually get 17 damage out of it quite early on. The Black Hawk would double to 14, and you could maybe push that to 20, but nobody likes this thing. It's well wrongly costed and needs someone to put the numbers right on it. It's horrible. Okay, so there you go. That's the idea. Resources down, turn 2 Black Hawk S, turn 3 Omni Mech Pod Cache, tap that, scrap our Black Hawk D and turn it straight into the Black Hawk S. Did I say S earlier? Anyway, straight into the S, and attack you go and play a mission. Okay, and that is the basis of the Smash Hawk deck. Smash because basically you're smashing them on turn 3. Hawk because it's a Black Hawk and it's going to deal a bucket load of damage. If you get an unopposed off on that, then you're going to do 16 damage next turn. If you can't play a mission, you're at another 8, 9, maybe 25 cards. The game could be close to being over. Okay. So there are a couple of other things to see or talk about. Doug, in his original deck construction, had Black Hawk D and Black Hawk S, 6 of each, and he had Fenris C and Fenris B. So we'll just have a quick gander at those. Fenris C, 1612A, you would put in, and again it's a 2-cost mech, and you tap that and you drop it out to a Fenris B, paying 3 extra damage but getting 3 extra damage off it. We'll ignore the missile for the moment. Okay. Why not the Fenris D, you say? Well, Fenris D, yes, you can pay the extra for it, but it's the buyouts. It's A, M, and T. By staying with the Fenris B, you keep everything to assembly, and if the worst comes to the worst, you can just pay for this normally. You don't have to Omni Mech Pod Cache to get it out. So there is some synergy there. Okay. As I said, I have Doug's deck here. This is what he ran. 6 of each of those. 2 unopposed, 2 forged mission orders. Makes sense. If they block, you're going to forge it. If they don't block, you're going to unopposed it. Makes perfect sense. And also note that there's no tactics in the deck because the Black Hawks jump. The downside of that is obviously you cannot use the jump on a Fenris because it doesn't have any. So that does make things a little awkward. Okay, and he ran 9A, 8 logistics, and 7 munitions. Which, why 7 munitions, you say? The simple choice is that Fenris C and Black Hawk D have missiles, so you get to roll a 3. It seems an awful lot to run 7 munitions just for those particular mechs, especially with the D. Okay, so how could this be improved? You could look at other combinations. Okay, Doug ran a lot of basic resources. As you can see here, there's 24 basic resources and 2 black markets. Yes, you can say I can get more reliability out of my deck with war funds, but there is a potential issue with war funds actually gimping your resource curve. And I'm not going to go into that now because that is a whole stream of an hour or two on its own talking about tempo. But the idea is that basically if you tap war funds, then it's a resource you've invested in, and yes, you go and get the resource you want, but you've still only got the same amount of resources on the table because I've scrapped war funds and pulled another one in. Whereas if I've actually got another resource to put on the table, I've then got 3 resources or 4 resources on subsequent turns. So it's a little gimping your resource curve. And the other reason I should leave it to later is there's a piece of analysis I've done on 3 and 4 cost mechs. And it looks at how many basic resources you need to put out 3 or 4 cost mechs if you don't actually draw a 1 or a 2 cost. As I said, it's another piece of work. It's another stream. It's not happening here and now. So yes, you could, should you want, put war funds in for these particular assets, which is fine. It seems strange to run 7M, 7 munitions, just because there's a few missiles going on here. So I'm actually going to tweak this, and I'm going to make a couple of slightly different suggestions to it. So there's the deck if you want it. The original Smash Hawk, 9 assembly, 8 logistics, 7 munitions, 2 black market, 6 Black Hawk Ds, 6 Black Hawk S's, 6 Fenris C's, 6 Fenris B's, 2 unopposed, 2 forged mission orders, and 6 Omni Mech pod cases. Okay. So regardless of whichever mechs we choose and change in this deck, we are still going to be abusing the wonderful Omni Mech podcast, which means we need a deck that's running A and L. Okay, so there are some options here. There is potential synergy you might suggest with something like elementals. Yeah, that's true. The trouble is that with 6 mech pod cases in there and 10 elementals, you've actually really taken up not only your unit curve, but your command and mission curve. So much as elementals would be fun, I would suggest that unless you can go pure L, then it's going to be really hard to fit things in. I mean, if you like the idea, go and play with it, go and try it and squeeze everything in. I think you'll play more L and drop some A. And you could play Dasher, Elemental, Omni Mech Pod Cache. Then you're still going to play 6 Hawk Ds and 6 Black Hawk S's. So your mech mix is really, really tight. So I'm not convinced with that. If you fancy it, go and try it. I'd like to see someone come up with that. That's a challenge, maybe. But because Black Hawk S is generic clan and D is generic clan, we have a choice of all of the clans here. We don't have to go wolf. So I'm sorry, but much as I like them, I'm going to get rid of our Fenrises. and I'm going to look at our other options within the clan. And I've got rid of the BT Tactics stuff. I'm looking at Omni. I've filtered on Omni and I'm filtered on Clan. And these are all the clans. And what we're looking for is either durable mechs that are going to stick around, that run A and L, realistically, or options where our base mech gives us a huge jump to our upgrade mech. Because Black Hawk D into S is a huge jump of 0 damage, 2 missiles to 8 damage AP. And that's what we're looking for. And arguably the Black Hawks are the best, but are there any other options? Our Battle Cobras are A&T. Our Stone Rhino actually has no other variations. In fact, it's mislabeled here. So one for Michael, the Behemoth Stone Rhino actually has Mech Omni listed against it, but it's not a keyword. So let me make a note of that. I'll let him know, and he can update the update the patch. Fair enough. Little email, and that'll get sorted out at some point in the future. Black Hawks we've looked at. Black Lanners, yeah, that'd be nice. Oops, that'd be really nice. The trouble with the Lanners is that they all cost 7. So you actually get no real, well, you don't take any damage, but what benefit do you get changing a Lanner A into a Lanner D or a Lanner Prime? And they're all AMTs or ANTs. No, it's horrible. It doesn't work. Cauldron Borns are funny. A&M, a 275 into a 274 overheat 6+6 alpha long range 2. I mean, it's a snotty piece of gross thing, and I wouldn't like to come across it on the tabletop, but that's not going to happen. The crossbows are the same. Daishies, we've got to get one out to start with. That's another stream in itself. The dashers, you could go prime into D, I suppose. Maybe. Might work. Dragonflies. I quite like the dragonflies because they're just purely A. So I'm just going to drop a couple in for the moment. Unfortunately, the prime is AMT, which is a real shame. If that was just A, that'd be a really nice choice. The Fenrises we've talked about. The Fire Falcons are an option. You've got the Fire Falcon B at 3A, which isn't bad. It does 4 damage. The only problem is, do you change it into the C, which is 4 AP? It does 1 more damage against stockpile. I'm not convinced. The D might be an option into the Prime. 045 overheat 1/6. That could work. Trouble is, it's tactics. That's a straight 4. That's a munitions, which we're trying to eliminate. Looks like the best option is a B at 3 into a Prime at 5 A and T. It doesn't quite feel right. A and T, we're trying to get rid of the T. So gladiators are not cheap to start with. You're paying 8 or 9, which is a lot. The Grendels might have opportunity. M and T for the Grendel C. If we went, oh no, it's going to be too many. We're going to have A, L, M, and T. But picking that up for 3, and then turning that into a prime. And the reason to go for the prime is the 7 damage resource killer would be an option. Grendel B's not bad, I suppose. It jumps and it does a reasonable amount of damage, but I can't see it happening. Not enough Hankyus, really. You won't turn the prime into the C. In fact, that would be one that you might even want to consider turning the other way, as the C tends to kill itself. Koshis are pretty innocuous. Linebackers are too expensive. Lokis are too expensive. Mad Cats, again, too expensive for a base version. Man of War Prime is 5, which is just about doable. but would you want to turn it into something like the C, which is quite fragile at 3/7? Yeah, it does a bucket load of damage, but 3/7 is a little on the weak side for an 80 tonner. You look at your linebackers at 2/8, still 10 damage, and they're 15 tons less. So you get the feeling that the man of wars are under armored slightly. Massacres are too expensive. The Nagas are way too expensive for what they do. There's a possibility with Night Gyres to turn the 295 version, this one, which is the cheapest one, A&M, into either the A 2910 or probably better the Prime 2910 overheat 1 jump long range. But it's A&T again. Phantoms, there aren't really the cheap ones. The cheapest one's the 3. The 4 cost 3 damage version. And would you turn it into the C? No. Would you turn it into the D? Probably not. Pouncers, again, 4 cost C. Would you turn it into an 8 cost D? At 1/5, it's still quite fragile. It's going to go boom and die horribly. Pumas, A&M again. Ryokans. See, the C or the Prime at 276 is quite nice, but it's 7. And then you turn it into something for 2 more with Alpha 2 and Overheat 2, or a missile and some overheat. 11, horrible cost. Not enough in Shadowcats to change, and the B is okay. The B at missile 3's nice if you go missile decks, but it's horrible otherwise. Thor, would you turn, and this shows how bad they were. The Thor B 263 missile 2 jump anti-missile narc came down from 12 L&T to 7 M&T, and lost nothing, which shows how badly they costed some of these things to start with. But you wouldn't take your Thor Prime and turn it into a Thor B and pay 1 extra on it. Turkeys, too expensive to start with. Ullers, Vultures might be an option because the C at 174, but it's A&T, is quite cheap. You could turn it into a B, 177 missile 1 overheat 5+5, or the A, but it just feels like Black Hawk Prime all over again. So I'm gonna go with the Dragonflies, and what I'm gonna do is their 4 cost, which is a bit of a problem. Let's bump the Black Hawks up to the right amount. Let's set that on name. So we've now got 6 Dragonfly Bs. Let's put a couple of Cs in or something. You can mix around and add what you want to those. Let's put a couple of Cs in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with, because we've got our Omni-Mech pod cases in there, I'm going to go support assembly, and let's add 9 of those. And let's go with logistics, and we'll have 9 of those, which is a bit different to Doug's version with 7. And we'll have a look at the others. And what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to try and boost the resource curve with 6 strip mines. So the idea is that you could drop a strip miner early and go go Black Hawk D, Omni-Mech Pod Cache, Black Hawk S, but you've also got a strip mine down somewhere in there as a free deploy, which means on the following turn you can Dragonfly B, C, or D, depending on what else you put in. I think a couple of forged mission orders. And the other thing is that the Dragonflies jump, so you get the opportunity. And arguably, they could even attack together. Play only if one of your units is attacking alone and isn't blocked. Okay, so it's not going to strip. We're not going to be able to attack with Dragonfly and Black Hawk, and then forge any blocker and then jump and play unopposed. It's got to be on its own, but that should work. And then maybe we add a couple of black markets in there, maybe just to recycle it. That could work. The strip mine giving us a bit of a boost to the resource generation. So you can go assembly turn 1, Black Hawk D, logistics turn, sorry, assembly, then you go logistics, Black Hawk D, turn 3, strip mine maybe, and any other resource. And we're running 18 basic resources with strip mine, 6 of those 24 basic resources, so you should be able to get that out without too many problems. It's not like you're going to be faffing for a war funds, and I haven't put any war funds in here because I think it will give it the curve. I mean, you could drop 2A, 2L and put in 4 war funds, but I'm not convinced it's reliable enough. I think you'll struggle. I think it's better with pure resources. So strip mine, then normally met pod cache, Black Hawk D into Black Hawk S, attack, and then the following turn out with your Dragonfly B or C or even a D. You've probably got enough resources on the table for whichever one of those comes out, and then use your missions accordingly. You could drop a mech or 2 if you wanted and play an extra mission or 2. But it's all down to preference. Have a look at it, play with it, see how you feel about it, and if you like it, go and play with it. I know Kevin, one of the American guys, was having we had a chat about this a little while ago, and he was playing around with it, and I think he had some quite good results with it. There was something I seem to recall that he said it might stall at a certain point without certain things. Kevin, if you're listening, I'd love your feedback. Tell me what I'm missing. Tell me what other people could do to make it playable, or what your conclusions are. Is it going to win a tournament? Probably not. Is it a bucket of fun? Yes. And it's a bit different as well. It's not your normal run-of-the-mill mechs. The dash ability catches a lot of people off guard, and taking a big hit like that early is quite hard. If you're playing in a sphere, swarms type things, that you can hit the deck early. You can hunt with your Black Hawk S because it's medium. You can hunt on those slows, or you can pick off resources. I think you really need either the second S on the table, which is why I've changed this, because taking the hit for the second S requires you to have a D. Okay, you can black market for it, but I think maybe with the strip mining in there and having the slightly more damage orientated dragonflies instead of the Fenris, the C is pretty innocuous, although I do like it for what you can do with it. But in this deck, it's pretty innocuous. Where and the Fenris B is a 5 cost for 4 damage, and I think with strip mine you can boost it. You don't need to rely on munitions. This Black Hawk D is cannon fodder, guard bait potentially. Stick that in front of your stockpile. It'll block stuff and absorb damage, but it's not going to kill much. So I think this version could be a bit better and might be a bit more durable. If you can get a couple of those dragonflies out, then I think it can make an awful lot of difference. So there you go. Outlaws Smashhawk in about half an hour, explained and constructed and upgraded. Have a look at it. If you like it, play it. There's the deck list. 6 Black Hawk D, 6 Black Hawk S, 2 Black Market, 6 Dragonfly Bs, 2 Cs, basically because the B's slightly better than the C, but you still get 4 damage out of it against the stockpile. 4 Dragonfly A's, 2 Forge, 6 Omni Met Podcash, 6 Strip Mine, 9 assembly, 9 logistics, 2 unopposed. Take it, play with it, abuse it, use it, have fun with it, change anything you want. I don't mind. I won't be offended, and I'm sure that Doug won't be offended either. Um, you could even run this version if you want. It's never a problem. Not a problem. It's your fun. Um, I'm still question mark the Fenrises, but that's opinion. So anyway, that's the Smash Hawk deck. Surprisingly, I didn't even think I was doing this, so that was all completely ad libbed. I shall be back at some point. I want to try and do a Daishi deck next. Um, I might do something even weirder in between. We shall see. I do have an idea about that. And again, it's Big Mech related. How to get Big Mechs out from a little guy in Portugal who came up with some really fun stuff. But until then, I shall bid you farewell. Have a very good rest of whatever's left of your day, and look out. It's a big bad word out there. Okay, I'm done. Stick a fork in me. See you guys all soon. Take care.